microphone. There we go. Good morning, Treasure Hardies. How is everybody this Saturday morning? Hope you guys are all doing wonderfully. Sorry, I was a little off camera and cutting fabric for today, and I totally forgot that the timer went off. So that's what I was doing. But glad you guys all made it here this morning. I'm not going to be on here for too long because I do have somewhere to get to by 11 o'clock. So yeah, so we'll be on here maybe for about an hour, a little over an hour to an hour and a half. And as you can see behind me, yes, I did make progress on the quilt. So today, well, I ran out of my sashing fabric, so I did have to make an emergency run to Soya Quilting, and I did, and then I still didn't buy enough, or I underestimated how much fabric I needed, so I need to go back again. Okay. And I didn't get an exact match of the fabric, but I think it's close enough, although the camera will pick up on something different. But even on the quilt behind me, you really can't tell from a distance. So I think it's good enough, but I got to pick up some more of this. Yeah, so that's been kind of what I've been up to this whole week. And it's been a crazy week. Let me just say that, because it is tax time. Let's see who is here. We got Linda Faust here. Hello, Linda. Donna Hoskins. Hey, hey, hey. Miss Irish Sail Lady. Good morning, good morning. Hope you're all well. Chilly here in Florida today. Okay. Hello, Miss Carissa. And hello, Claudette. Glad to see you here this morning. We got Kelly Quilts and Cruises here. She says, I hope that everyone has an excellent sewing weekend. I'm going to put a couple of borders on the gemstones quilt today. Ooh, I need to make me that. Actually, I even bought the book. I bought a book for it. I don't know if it's the same one that you're doing, but I need to, I was thinking about doing that quilt. I mean, this one is a paper piece pattern, and I need to somehow figure out how to embrace paper piecing because it is not my thing. That is something I learned after doing the crane quilt. Let's see. The Confident Quilter Gladys. Hello, Gladys. The quilt is on point, looking very good. No, thank you, thank you. Oh, she's talking about her quilt. Well, I have to check that out, Kelly. Hello, Miss Kim. And then we got everybody saying hi to Kim. So, yeah. You're on early. Well, this is a new time for me. Tuesday night was just not getting, or it was just getting too difficult for me to make it on a Tuesday night live. So, I know that there's a lot of people going on live Saturdays and Sundays. So I just kind of figured I'd just etch a little time out in the morning. Because I know, for example, Sean goes on at 8 a.m. Eastern time, which is like 5 a.m. my time. And then I don't know who else is on live now. Well, actually, I think Donnell is on live right now too, but I'm not sure if that's her usual schedule. But I know later on in the day, who is it? Mom and Pop Quilt Shop comes on. Stephanie Stitches comes on with a whole bunch of people. So I figured this might be a good time for me to just etch out a little time early in the morning, and then I can actually get on with the rest of my day too. My sister and I are using a book called Gemology, and yes, it is paper piecing. Oh, okay, Kelly, is that the same one that, who was it? Karen Brown of Just Get It Done Quilts did a whole video on? Because that's the book I got. And if that's so, then I need somebody to kind of guide me. So I might be checking out those videos if you have it on a video. Okay. So what am I planning on doing today? Well, I needed to, although I ran out of the sashing fabric, I need to pick up some more of this. This is, I can't find it anywhere. I figure I do have parts of the quilt that is done, basically that upper corner that you can't see. I don't have sashing for the middle sections, and those are the longest sections, which require the most fabric. But I figure we can at least get some side setting triangles in, and I can kind of show how I did this calculation, or how I do my calculation in terms of how big I need to cut my square. So here's a magic formula that I use, and this is how I was taught to calculate this. Let me push up the cutting mat here so you can kind of see the bottom. Okay, each of these blocks will finish at 6 inches. So what I usually do then is on the cutting mat, here's my 6-inch mark, which is the big hole. How convenient. Maybe I should turn it. No, I need the diagonal line. Okay. So with the big hole there, that's my 6-inch mark. What I do is I will measure the distance or the diagonal of 6 inches, or the finished size of the block. So here's my 6-inch mark, and when I put another ruler right on that 45-degree line, that's basically representing if I were to have a 6-inch square and cut it in half diagonally. Where the 6-inch line lands, now a lot of times this will not be an exact measurement, but it's like off maybe a 1/16 of an inch or so. So I will round it to the nearest nice measurement, and in this case, it's roughly 8.5. Let me see if I can zoom in on the camera. There. So here is my 6-inch mark. Where's my stiletto? This will help a little bit. 6-inch line, putting the ruler right on that diagonal to represent if I were to just cut it diagonally. And where that lands is about 8.5, roughly. So here's my 8-inch mark. So it's about 8.5. Now, to that, I'm going to add, well, if you work out the proper math, it works out to be that you need to add 1 1/4 inches. But I usually like to, whenever I do a side setting triangle or a quarter square triangle, which is what this really is, I will usually add 1 1/2. So 8.5 plus 1.5, 10-inch square. That is the size square that I cut, which is this piece of fabric here. So I'm going to cut a 10-inch, or I will cut 10-inch squares from this. And from those 10-inch squares, then we're going to cross cut it diagonally, in both directions. And that is how I get my side setting triangles. Okay, so let me cut this. Is that going to be big enough? Oh, just barely. Okay. You know what? I'm going to just do it one at a time. I don't want to cut too many layers of fabric on this. I do have a large 12-inch square, so I can use this. Woo! Drifted a little too far there. Okay, so I will cut selvage. Oh, bunched up there. Not sure what happened with that. I will deal with that later. So what is everybody working on this morning? I know for some of us it's really early in the morning. But I got a long and busy day today, so a lot of stuff going on. So after I'm supposed to, well, I was planning on going to a quilt show later on today. It's Quilt Las Vegas. And I'll spend maybe about an hour or two at the show. Then the rest of the day I will have to head back into the office, or I was planning on getting some work done. Is this 10 inches? It should be. Just trying to trim that corner and make it look pretty. Oops, sorry. I know I hit the microphone. Sorry about that. Hey, so Terry. Hey, Jim. Okay, then we will go at 10 inches. There. And this will go in my string bin. Actually, I could cut this down to even 1.5 inch squares, which I've been doing a lot lately. Okay, we'll put that there. And I will just throw that in the scraps. And I think I'm done with this ruler for now, so I can put that to the side. Okay. So let me straighten up my pile here. So cutting it diagonally both ways. There. And let me just angle the mat. Now we'll cut it there. And I should have, whoops, didn't cut all the way through there. So let me get that corrected. There we are. And out of each square, then I will have 4 side setting triangles, to which I can now use to sew onto the edge of each row. And I think I needed 30 of them. So I will just keep a stack of these here. Okay. Kim says, I'm working on waking up. She overslept. Hey, Lori Clark. Okay, so hot topic for this morning. How is it that you organize your scraps? You see, this whole quilt um, that I did all of last year, if you can remember, I created this whole quilt just using a whole bunch of scraps. And that is how all the different colors just kind of came out. These were just coming out from my scrap bins. Um, and I had usually when I keep scraps, I keep larger pieces because, well, quite frankly, I never know what sizes I'm going to need. So I just try to keep it as whole as possible. And then when I want to use it, that's when I start cutting it up. So I know a lot of people like to cut up their scraps, cut them into fat quarter sizes, cut them into whatever pre-cut sizes that they usually use. I don't do a lot of that. I used to, but then I found out that a lot of it was just being wasted. So I stopped doing that and then just kept up with the larger size scrap. So how is it that you guys organize your scraps? Is the big question for today. Oh, this is the corner. That's why. Okay, something's not quite right. Did I forget to calculate the sashing on the side? Yeah, I think I did. Did I cut this wrong? No. No, it is 10 inches. Huh. What did I do wrong? Is this ruler off? That's funny because the triangles are coming out short. Oh yeah, it's about a half an inch short. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, so now we will cut these into something or use it for something because that is not the totally correct size. That is strange. Okay. Do 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 do. 15. Actually, I'll be back. Let's see. Hey, Suzanne Taylor. Carissa Renninger says, I file them in a trash bin if they're less than 3 inches. Okay. I don't save little bits either. I have one bucket for random crumbs that I make pet quilts out of. I need to resort all of the rest and revise my system. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been revising my system too because I've been finding out that the old way that I used to store scraps just isn't working for me. And again, I used to cut it up into all different sizes, but yeah, not anymore. Okay, let me recut this and hopefully you can still hear what I'm doing with this microphone. So let's see. Somehow I forgot that well, somehow my measurement came out wrong, so I need to recut it. I'm gonna cut it an extra. Which is so totally off. Maybe it's because I haven't had my morning coffee yet. Okay, hopefully this will work. Or hopefully I will get the correct measurement this time. I'll just cut one strip. And I'll cut my square. I think I miscut it because I was cutting it at the table with the sewing machine table, and I didn't quite get the correct measurement there. So hopefully this time I'll get it. That. And cut the square. And I can cut my diagonal. Might as well do that here. Sorry, I know I'm off camera. I wish I had the technology to actually put cameras in different spots because sometimes I want to get up and move around on a live. I know some people actually do that. I don't have the technical know-how of setting that up. And it would be kind of convenient. Okay, I'll just cut that way, cut this one this way, and that's all the cutting for now. Okay, there. Now that should be correct. Hey, Donnell. Hi, Donna. Okay, so I got my sight setting triangles. I, for some reason, measured it, and then you know what? I just made the last minute decision that I'm going to make it really oversized this time. So here, so I ended up cutting a 14-inch square instead of a 10-inch, which is what my calculation told me to do. But I think because I added the sashing, I needed to account for that. So hopefully this is big enough. Oh yeah, this is way big. So I will put the side setting triangle there. And I will flip this over so I can actually see what I'm sewing. Are you on? And there we go. Okay. One thing about this quilt is, and those of you who were watching me live all throughout last year, you know this is really the truth. This is the one quilt where a lot of miscalculations happened. But I had fun just trying to do it. And I learned a lot doing it too. But as they say, one error is actually a life lesson learned. At least that's what I say. So what are we making today, Donnell is asking. So Donnell, all throughout last year, I was actually doing the Farmer's Wife quilt. And I did 50 of those blocks. There's like over 100 of them to do. So if you want to do the full size or the full king size quilt, you would have to do all 100. I think it's 111 or 113. I forgot. I know it's over 100. But I only did the lap size, which is 50 blocks. And so I am putting that quilt together now, since we got all 50 of them. Tricky part is that this quilt is on point, and so trying to do the side setting triangles as well as trying to put the quilt top together can be a little tricky. And a lot of it just kind of depends on whether you put sashing or you don't put sashing on, whether there's a border or there is no border. So calculating this side setting triangle, as you just saw, because I just miscut it, can be a little tricky. Now I'm gonna do this. There is a separate calculation to actually cutting the corner triangle, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do it like this. Let's see, is that the center? I'm gonna fold it just to mark the center here. Actually, I don't want to do that because the bias is actually here. So if I were to use this triangle to put the corner piece on, then I got some biased edges, in which, yeah, for me, that's really not good. So I will withhold from that and I will recut. I'll recut that later. Let's see, I can put this one up. And I can sew this one on. Doo-doo-doo. Kelly says, I'm going to go and do some spinning. This quilt is looking great. Thanks for the chat. I'll see you around. Thanks, Kelly. We'll sew this triangle on. Okay, then I can take my next row and let me move this because now that's getting in the way. And I will put the triangle here. Ooh. You know, under these lights, I'm like burning up here. It's kind of warm today. Hey, Heather. Okay, this is the upper corner. So let me put that up there. And I'll twist this around. So triangle corner goes in. Yep, the corner is here. So I'll put that here. We'll line it up. So what, if you haven't heard, Donna Jordan of Jordan Fabrics did pass away was it last week or so? I used to watch their videos a lot. Just to learn any tips or trick that she mentions, in which she used to. I could never finger press open the seams like how she does for some reason. And I always wanted to actually make it up to Grants Pass, wherever their shop used to be. I know they don't have it anymore, or at least that's what I heard. But yeah, it was rather sad to hear that Donna Jordan passed away when when they released that video. And as I was watching it, you could kind of tell that the husband was struggling to make that announcement, and I felt bad for him. How do you guys feel about, or have you guys heard? And oh, I'm holding it upside down. That's why it's going. Heather says, yes, sad to hear, but a wonderful tribute video. Yeah, that was. That really was. Yeah. I was kind of wondering why they weren't putting out as many videos as they used to, which now it kind of explains why. Okay, I'll do this row. Lately, I've been kind of experiencing a lot of people making that transition. Let's just put it that way. A friend of mine, longtime family, well, I shouldn't say longtime family friend. She's actually, well, okay, a former coworker of mine recently passed away last month, and then earlier this month, I went and drove back to Los Angeles to attend her funeral. But well, you know that saying, it's a small world. I worked with her for over 10 years, and it turns out that she was born, or she's from the same town that my father actually grew up back in Hawaii. So they kind of knew each other. I mean, when you're in Hawaii and you're on a small island, yeah, word kind of gets around of who is who. So when I first started working there, she knew my father. She'd never met me because by then she was already living in Los Angeles and I just moved there. But it turns out that we know a lot of people in common. And she sort of like became my mother away from home. And, well, wait, let me see if I sold. Yeah, it's this corner. So she really took care of me when, especially, moving to a new city, a big city like Los Angeles. Whoops. Why is this camera going out so quickly? Moving to a city like Los Angeles and not really knowing anybody and trying to get adjusted and acclimated to things, she really helped me out there. Just making sure that I was okay, making sure that I wasn't feeling homesick, that type of thing. So, but I was just kind of thinking the other day, gosh, there's a lot of people that I know, especially this year. A lot of people I know or I heard of, like, for example, Donna Jordan. I never actually met her in real life, but you feel like you get to know these people because you see them on YouTube all the time. And there's a lot of people like that in which, they've been making that transition. So I was kind of thinking, I was thinking about that. Don't ask me why. But even some of my friends back at home, like I just found out earlier this year, back in January, he, a friend of mine who was a former classmate from high school, who actually went on to become a very well-known musician, he passed away as well. And it was kind of sudden, and nobody knew that how or what the cause of death really was. Or at least the family didn't share with us. But it was just sad that he's not much older than I am. I mean, barely. He didn't even make it to 50. And I think it was just strange that suddenly we got a notification that he passed away. Another high school classmate of mine just lost her husband recently, who was also a classmate. So I was just kind of thinking about that. I'll do this row. Yeah. Sometimes I get on those deep thoughts, just random deep thoughts like that. Why do I keep looking at the computer screen when I should be looking at the camera. But sometimes I just get in those random deep thoughts and I start thinking about it. And this time I was kind of thinking about, the whole cycle of life and death. Kind of a morbid topic, yes, I know, but uh, it's a fact of life that we all have to face at some point. Hi, Jeannie. She says, I watched her video yesterday. It was so sad to hear of her passing. I really learned a lot from her. Yep. And you ever notice she had like the most manicured nails? I love that. I thought about doing that, but then I said, nah, that's a little too over the edge for me. Although, yes, I know men get manicures and pedicures too. Yeah, I used to watch her videos and I'm like, okay, what color nail polish is she wearing today? Now watch, I bet some of you will go back and rewatch some of the videos and like, oh, I didn't notice that. Did I get it? Yeah, I got it. Kimber says, I watched her videos and ordered from them. They will continue selling fabric, but the actual store is closed to the public. I heard the store was actually closed for a while, that they were only doing online orders. I wonder if this is why. Okay, those nails help with finger pressing. Oh, yes, they sure did, Heather. Which is why I can't effectively finger press. Whoops, that's too high. Okay, I think I can start putting together this section. So this is one of the bottom corner section. So there is my first row here with this block. Second row is, well, you can't see it fully in the camera, but it's here with 1, 2, 3 blocks. So there's that one, the churn dash, and the 4 patch. Okay. So I will line, this is the middle block. In that next row, I will line this block to that, and we will sew these two together. Does that line up? And there should be enough overhang here on the corners. So that corner overhangs just about a 1/4 inch there. And then there's some overhang on this end as well, about a 1/4 inch now. But before we do that, I'm going to give this a really good press because I can kind of feel like the finger pressing wasn't enough. So put this to the side, doing some reorganizing here. Is that my door somebody's knocking at? And while I'm doing this, I might also press this out. Ooh, that's hot. Just got a shot of steam right on my hand. That actually felt good though. So that one's nicely pressed. Wow, you can really feel the difference. And I will press this one out as well. Okay. Now I will line it up and we will sew this row. Which is about there. Okay, and I think I am gonna just put a pin right here in the center. Or actually, I'm just gonna pin this, but I'm not gonna put too many pins. Move that back. Put a pin here. And I will put one here just to kind of hold it, because I know it's going to shift on me when I start putting it through the sewing machine there. So yeah. Hello, Ms. Linda. Okay, so Heather says she uses a wood pressing tool instead. Jim Bennett says, I like my seam roller. I got a bunch of them and I never use them. I don't know why. I should start using it. Actually, I do use it. What am I talking about? Usually if I'm sewing strings, because it's on that paper, I don't want to necessarily press with an iron every time I sew a strip on, so I will get that seam roller and I will steamroll over that instead of pressing it with an iron. And that's where the roller really does come in handy. And let's sew off on the piece of scrap here. And let me also trim this off. And trim this off. Little scraps, throw that. And let's see how we did. Ba-dum. Okay, not bad, not bad. I thought about putting cornerstones. You know what? thought about putting cornerstones there, but after looking at it, just decided not to do it and just leave the whole sashing hole. Truth be told, I just didn't want to cut the squares. Okay, so there's a corner piece. All I need is one triangle to go in the corner there, and that whole section will be done. So let me give this a good press and put it back on my board. Okay, so I'm actually pressing it in towards the sashing on every row, because that's basically the path of least resistance, although I didn't get this corner done really good. So let me do that. Okay, that's better. So here's one corner. So got my side set triangles here. I need one triangle, half square triangle, to go and fill out this corner, and then got my other side set triangles here. These are oversized, in which later on when I get the whole top done, I'm probably going to trim off to make it so that the about a quarter inch away from these points here. Eric, did you go to the quilt show? Ignore if you already answered, coming in late. No, actually, Linda, I was actually going to head down there after this live. So, which is why I was not planning on staying on here for too long, because I know the show closes at 3. I like to think she's in heaven making clouds into quilts. Yes, Lori, I believe you would be right there. Or at least she's preparing heaven for the rest of us and making quilts, so that when we arrive or when our time comes, we'll be welcomed with a quilt. Okay, so Jim says, I agree. No cornerstones needed. Okay, so I did make a good decision. Suzanne Taylor says, I really like the brown sashing. You know, the brown it's an interesting. One thing I learned about putting scrap quilts together like this is how brown can kind of play well with these colors. It's sort of, in my eyes, the brown acts like it's a black fabric where it's just kind of making everybody else shine, especially when you use bright colors. And even with this kind of khaki, more neutral, light tan brown color, it kind of complements everything else. So I was really happy with, happy that I experimented with brown on various quilts, because brown, let me tell you, brown is not, it's not everybody's favorite color. I can attest to that. But when you learn how to work with it, you know, I mean, this is the result as to what you can get. So I'm happy with it. Did I do? Yep, I did it. This one. So same thing. I'm doing the other corner. Let me press these out. And let me just quickly press this one. Okay. Then I can lay, same thing, gonna kind of line up this block with this one because this is the center. So it's right about there, roughly. And I will put a few pins on this. One thing I learned about this machine is it does like to tug and pull on the fabric as it sews through. And so a lot of times when I'm sewing two pieces together, what I've noticed is that, like, pretend if this hand was the top piece of the fabric, it'll pull the bottom piece just ever so slightly. And so if I pin the fabric, or if this is a quilt where the point really does matter, or if maybe it's an intersection or a seam where that kind of does matter, you know, I've learned that I really do need to pin it because the pin helps to prevent the fabric from just sliding forward. Do, do, do. Okay, then let me grab a piece of scrap that I can sew on. Actually, let me just grab a 4-patch here. We'll make a 4-patch. Oh, what do you know? Cut off pieces of this. And I'm just using this as a leader and ender so that I can take off this piece that I really need. Okay, let's see how we did. Oh, Let me cut this part off. That was the other thing I noticed Donna Jordan always did. She always used her snips to cut off the dog ear pieces. And then once I saw that she was doing that, I kind of said, I didn't know you could do that with those. So I started doing it. Okay, so let me give this, well, that's what it looks like. Well, that's what the top corner looks like. So let me press this and we'll put it back up on the design wall. Again, pressing it into the sashing, and I just put the iron on my fingertip, which is not a good idea to do. Okay. Then I can roll this back. I feel like I gotta press it from the back because something may have, yeah, something got twisted. Let's, somehow I always manage to twist a seam or make the seam go whenever I'm pressing a long roll like this. There's always one seam that tends to want to roll back the other direction. So there we go. Although the camera, you really can't see the whole thing. Let's see if I can zoom out. No, that's about as far as I can zoom out. That sashing really sets the blocks off. It looks great. Well, thank you, Kim. I got the rose table runner quilted on my sewing machine. Just need to bind it now. Heather says, love it. I'm not a brown fan usually, but this really works well. Yeah. Yeah. So again, when you have bright colors like this, a brown fabric can really offset it and kind of neutralize that. If you like black, try and replace, or if you like black backgrounds, try replacing it with a brown once and just see what it does, because I find that a dark brown like this will kind of act like a black fabric. Okay. Oh. Hi, Joyce. Did you paper piece those blocks? No, Joyce, these were actually just pieced together. Not paper pieced, because paper piecing is not one of my favorite techniques right now. I'm trying to learn to love it, but I just haven't picked up on it, or haven't picked the love up for it. So yeah, these were actual, like, I cut the individual pieces out, or if there was a shortcut that I knew of, that's how I pieced it. But yeah, I know there is a paper piece version of the Farmer's Wife quilt. that is out there. I think it's the 1930s version that you can pick up. But no, these were not paper pieced. Although I wish some of these blocks were paper pieced, because stuff like this one, trying to do that just with regular piecing, oh my goodness, that was not an easy task to do. Sounds okay. What time is it? Yeah. So we've been on for over an hour or so. Now, I said I wasn't going to stay on too long here because I do want to get to that quilt show, and there's a ton of other errands that I need to get done. So yeah, I'm going to continue on off camera, trying to put this quilt together. If I do get it finished this weekend, I will be sure to post pictures of it in its full glory, either on Facebook or Instagram. By the way, if you haven't noticed, or if you are on Instagram, make sure you do give me a follow and a like, and I will follow you back. I'm trying to grow that audience, but I haven't done much on there. So yeah, I bought most of them. Let's see. Last weekend, I got out my 4 totes of patterns, all 20 quart size and full. I sorted, kept what I will use, and donating 78 clothing patterns, many never out of the envelope. Okay. But most of them at Joann's when they were only $1, so I have no problem just donating them. All right, guys. So Donna Hoskins says, go to the quilt show and have fun. Thanks for your time. Okay, so we are going to cut it a little bit short, which the camera went off. So the quilt is coming along. Let me take these pieces down so that you can kind of see where I can move this up. Whoops. Oh, just stand up, Eric. So this piece is all put together. Now, next step would just to be sew it on. Right like that. Oops, what did I just, oh, my ruler. So at least we got the bottom corner all pretty much done. I just need to put the triangle on there. So you can kind of see what it's gonna, or get a visual of what it might turn out to look like. And that's about half the quilt, actually. No, maybe about a third. Okay. All right, guys, so I am gonna call this a live. I don't do IG or TikTok. Well, that's okay, Jim. Might not be for everybody. Actually, it isn't really for anybody, for everyone. So, all right, guys. So that is it. I will call this a live. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. It's a little short today, but hopefully you guys learned something and learned from my mistake. All right, so I will try and schedule another live in sometime soon. It might just be some random thing where I just kind of show up and kind of pop up on a live. So just be sure that you do have your notification bell selected and that you are subscribed to the channel. Well, actually, I know you're subscribed because you are chatting in there. So anyway, just be aware that I might go on, or might just kind of do something impromptu, maybe even tomorrow, who knows, because I need to get this or my plan is to actually get this quilt up by the end of this weekend. So I might just turn on the cameras and start sewing. Who knows? All right. Love the colors. Good choice on the brown. Well, thank you, Donna. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And I will see you on the next one. So until then, let's all get out there and let's all create something. Mwah. Bye for now.